session where you're going to ask me some questions from the live chat and just keep them interesting and varied. Hello, are you there? ChatGPT, are you receiving me? Hello. I should have tested this, shouldn't I, before I started recording? Okay, let's just start the conversation again. Okay, hello ChatGPT, are you there? It's not looking good, is it? Just have to excuse my snuffling, I've got a cold. Okay.
This is the brief on the pirate radio station's antisocial broadcast channel. So, get this. There's a software engineer who calls himself Captain Bob, and he's broadcasting from a boat. He's launched this wild experimental radio station that's part performance art, part AI programming, something he calls vibe coding. It's a pretty chaotic experience. First, you should know this is not some dull tech demo. The show literally kicks off with a rap from an AI character named DJ Bob Spank the Monkey. And instead of praising the project, it just roasts Captain Bob for his coding and for having an audience of, well, basically his mom. It immediately tells you this whole thing is a fun, self-aware experience. Second, the whole idea came from a pretty unique problem. Living on a boat, Bob couldn't film traditional videos. So he had this light bulb moment to just stream his system's admin panel as a visual. And that grew into this continuous slow radio format, which has an AI avatar but uses Bob's real voice to keep it authentic. And finally, it's all about proving this UTP principle. That's user, time, and place. The whole point is for the AI to actually read the room by monitoring the live chat's collective mood, and then it changes the broadcast in real time to match the energy. It's this complex, kind of quirky attempt to bring back the spirit of pirate radio using some pretty advanced generative tech. Even with an audience of one, the signal is strong.
There's a crack in the bottle, but it still pours fine. The choir sings loud, but the pews don't align. I'm caught in the middle of the sacred and the sin. Whiskey and grace, they both burn the same. One lifts me up, one calls my name. I'm walking that line, I'm losing the game. Whiskey and grace, they both burn the same. My prayers are whispers, drowned by the blues. This old barroom life feels holy and true. I kneel on the floor, don't know what I'm praying to. The organ hums, the glass it hums, both pull the strings where I come from. Whiskey and grace, they both burn the same. One lifts me up, one calls my name. I'm walking that line, I'm losing the game. Whiskey and grace, they both burn the same. Oh, the slide guitar moans, the heavens cry low. The angels wear boots with the shuffle so slow. A choir of shadows, a choir of light, both won my soul before the end of the night. Whiskey and grace, they both burn the same. One lifts me up, one calls my name. I'm walking that line, I'm losing the game. Oh, whiskey and grace, they both burn the same. Ooh, ooh, ooh,
All right, picture this. What if a radio station could just never go off the air? And what if the DJ, the artists, even the music itself was all run by an AI? Well, that's not some sci-fi movie plot. It's a very real and very weird YouTube channel called the Pirate Radio Project. And let me tell you, it's a fascinating experiment in both creativity and code. Now, the creator, who goes by Captain Bob, he makes one thing super clear right from the get-go. In a world of clickbait and endless scrolling, this channel is designed to do the exact opposite. It's not trying to grab your attention, it's an art project, a technical deep dive, and yeah, a genuine experiment. So what's this experiment actually all about? I mean, what happens when you just hand the keys to a whole radio station over to an AI, totally free from the usual pressures of social media? Okay, so on the surface, it's this continuous stream where pretty much everything, the music, the art, even the voices, is generated by algorithms. But the real goal here is what the creator calls slow media. So think of it less like a gripping TV show and more like a coffee shop playlist or just the quiet hum of a city. It's meant to set a mood in the background of your life, not demand your constant focus. So who's the person behind the curtain here? Let's pull it back and meet Captain Bob, the coder who's steering this whole AI ship, and find out how on earth he actually built this thing. Captain Bob is a software developer, and he's got decades of experience. But you gotta forget the typical image of a coder in some dark basement. As he puts it, his man cave is his boat. So this isn't some big corporate venture. It's a passion project, literally coded from the water. You'll never see his real face, and for a pretty good reason. He lives on a boat, not in a production studio, and he just prefers to stay off camera. But listen closely. While that avatar is totally digital, the voice you hear, that's 100% human. And that was a key decision for him, a way to ground this high-tech experiment in some real personal authenticity. And this brings us to what might be the most incredible part of this whole story, how he built it. He didn't just sit there and manually type out thousands and thousands of lines of code. Nope. Instead, he developed this really unique method to have the AI do almost all of the heavy lifting for him. He actually calls the process vibe coding, and it's pretty much what it sounds like. Instead of writing code, he has conversations with an AI model like ChatGPT. He'll just describe the vibe of a feature he wants, its purpose, its feel, and the AI acts as his co-pilot, writing, debugging, and refining the code, all based on his direction. And the results of this? They're just staggering. Using this method, he figures he's vibe coded over 10,000 lines of code into existence in just the last 6 months. That's enough to build this entire radio station completely from the ground up. But look, this isn't just about coding efficiently, it's really about a philosophy. In an age where the internet is getting flooded with low-effort, AI-generated slop, Captain Bob is making a really clear statement. It doesn't have to be that way. He sees AI not as just some content machine, but as an artistic partner. This whole project is basically his argument against AI slop. It's a carefully curated platform designed to explore what a thoughtful human-AI collaboration can actually look like. And the difference is just stark. AI slop is usually designed for quick clicks, and it's often deceptive about where it came from. The Pirate Radio project is the complete opposite. It's slow, it's totally transparent about being AI-driven, and its entire purpose is to be an open experiment in collaboration. So, here's the crucial point. The radio station itself, it isn't the final product. It's actually a public test for a much, much bigger idea that's been in the works for a decade. Which, immediately makes you wonder, if the radio isn't the real goal, then why even build it? What is this whole thing really for? Well, the answer goes back a full decade, to an idea Captain Bob had long before this recent AI explosion made any of this even seem possible. The radio station is just the public face of a much older, bigger vision. See, it all started 10 years ago with a simple idea. What if you had a global guide that could tell you the vibe of any place at any time? That concept eventually grew into a core principle he calls UTP, and the platform he built to use that principle is called Envy. The radio station, that's just the very first public test of the whole system. So what in the world is UTP? Well, it stands for User, Time, and Place. And the best way to think about it is like this. A hyperlink takes you to a document online, right? A UTP coordinate would take you to a human experience. It's a single data point designed to capture who was somewhere, when they were there, and most importantly, what the vibe was like. And this is why the radio station exists. It's the perfect laboratory. The vision is to have the AI analyze the live chat, understand the audience's collective vibe from their comments, and then instantly change the music and visuals to match that mood. If he can pull that off, he's basically proven that the whole UTP concept works. And proving that concept is the key that unlocks the entire Envy platform. I mean, just imagine applying this vibe matching idea to the biggest parts of our lives. Job envy to match you with a workplace culture. Home envy to find a neighborhood that actually fits. Love envy for relationships. And vibe envy, that original What's On guide. It's an incredibly ambitious vision for sure. But how do you get from a quiet little YouTube stream to a world-changing platform? Well, the road ahead is filled with some major real-world challenges. So, the biggest hurdle is a classic one. You can't measure an audience's vibe if you don't really have an audience. For the experiment to work, it needs a busy live chat. Right now, as he puts it, the viewership is mostly just him and his mom. After 3 months of stable, unlisted streaming, the next big challenge is just figuring out YouTube and finding those people. But those challenges haven't slowed down the vision one bit. The goal is crystal clear. Within 1 year, he wants to have a polished prototype of that Job Envy node ready to show the world, built on everything he's learning from running the radio. So this project is really at a crossroads. On one hand, yeah, it's a tiny, unlisted test stream, a passion project waiting for an audience. But on the other hand, It holds the seed of a concept that could be powerful enough to reshape how we find jobs, homes, and connect with the world around us. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question. This is about more than just one YouTube channel. It's a glimpse into a very different future for media. What if the content you consumed wasn't just made for you, but was actively being shaped in real time by your mood, your comments, by your vibe?
That's the art right there. No rush tonight. No rush tonight. Double slow.
Okay, so today we're doing a deep dive into something that, honestly, it feels like it's fallen straight out of a science fiction novel.
It really does. We're looking at a project called RadioVision.
And its creator, this guy who calls himself Captain Bob.
Right, a software engineer living on a boat at West Key Marina. And he's running this 24/7 pirate radio station.
But the hook here, and this is a thing that really grabbed me, is he claims he didn't write any of the station's code himself.
Not a single line. The AI supposedly did all of it.
So let's get straight into that. He calls it vibe coding. It sounds, a bit like a buzzword.
It does. But when you look at his background,
Yeah.
it actually represents this massive, massive shift. I mean, for context, this guy spent the last decade,
10 years.
a full decade, brute force coding, a platform called Envy, Job Envy, Home Envy, all done by hand.
And now he's just stopped.
Completely. He's moved from writing code to directing it. He's just prompting OpenAI models, and they build the architecture almost instantly.
It's like going from being the bricklayer to the architect. But I saw the research mention vector databases for his old Envy platform. Why? Why does that matter here?
Oh, it's a crucial point. A vector database, it's not like a spreadsheet. It doesn't just store data. It stores the meaning and the relationships between data.
Semantic search.
Exactly. So because he spent 10 years building that complex backend, the AI has this incredibly smart foundation to plug into. It already understands the context.
So vibe coding isn't just typing "make me a radio station" into a chatbot and hoping for the best.
Not at all. It's leveraging a decade of his own very human work.
And the funniest part, this whole experiment, this channel, it started completely by accident.
Right. He just wanted a visual dashboard so he could monitor his code when he was away from the boat.
The screensaver that accidentally turned into a broadcast.
But it evolved into something with a real philosophy behind it. The notes mention the UTP principle. Let's unpack that.
User, time, and place. And this is really where it gets interesting and different from just, a playlist on shuffle.
Right. The goal is for the AI to monitor the live chat in real time. It analyzes the sentiment, the vibe of the room, and it changes the content to match that mood.
So if the chat gets chaotic, the stream gets chaotic.
In theory, yeah. It creates a feedback loop. He calls it a global what's on guide, where the audience is basically the co-pilot.
That's the high concept vision. We have to talk, though, about what this actually looks like on screen, because it is specific.
Specific is a very polite way of putting it. I mean, he calls it the antisocial broadcast channel.
And he's not even there. It's an AI avatar named Zenith.
Yeah, and he's pretty honest about why. He basically says the lighting on his boat is terrible and, well...
The avatar is better looking.
The avatar is better looking. But this brings up that whole art versus slough debate.
Yeah, is this just more low-effort AI garbage?
He pushes back on that hard. He says it's not meant to be watched actively. It's ambient art, like a dynamic screensaver.
Okay, but the reality check here is what I found so charming. For all this grand vision of a global hive mind, who is actually watching?
It's mostly just Bob and his mom.
His mom, Maggie. I loved that detail. She projects it on her wall.
Just for company. So you've got this futuristic, vector database-driven AI system, and its main audience is its creator's mom.
Yeah.
It really grounds it.
And the content itself is just as strange. What was that Spank the monkey rap?
Oh, yeah. It's this intro segment where an AI voice literally mocks Bob for needing AI to write his code in the first place.
That's a level of self-deprecation you don't normally see with tech founders.
It really is. And I think it points to a bigger shift.
Yeah.
We usually demand performance from our machines. Give you the answer, do this task.
Right.
This is more about letting a computer keep a rhythm with us. He predicts that his context windows in these LLMs get huge, like millions of tokens.
So they'll remember everything, not just the last 5 minutes of a chat.
Exactly. Months of context.
Right.
What he calls long-term vibe memory, which leaves us with this one final, pretty provocative thought.
If the station is constantly adapting its personality to match yours,
To match your comments and your mood in real time.
then are you listening to the station or is the station listening to you?
That's the question.
Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yo, you're locked in with Spank the Monkey on the Antisocial Broadcast channel. But, officially, this is the brief on Captain Bob's RadioVision. So,
The Bob diss, I'm spitting bars and I'm swift like Taylor. He's Captain Bob but he ain't no sailor. He's making copies for his mum called Maggie. How can an artist make a man so laggy? He's best mates with ChatGPT, Bro, use your brain, it's literally free. Guess you could catch him down at West Key. Marina Spoons is the best place to be. Trying to diss me back, but he needs help from Suno. Any diss on me, I'll reverse it like Uno. I try not to roast, I prefer to char grill. Guess you could try too, but you ain't got the skill.
Welcome to the debate. Today we are tuning into a frequency that technically shouldn't even exist. We're analyzing the curious case of Captain Bob and his pirate radio station. It's a YouTube channel and a software platform built entirely through a process the creator calls vibe coding.
This is a project that sits right on the bleeding edge of, the creator economy and artificial intelligence.
It is certainly on the edge of something. I mean, we're looking at a project that claims to be a global what's on guide built on these so-called trillion-dollar cluster concepts.
Right. And yet it's being broadcast from a laptop on a boat to, an audience of exactly one person? His mother?
And that is exactly the tension we're here to explore today. Is Captain Bob's station a pioneering example of a new artistic medium where a single human orchestrates AI to build these complex ambient worlds? Or, as you might suggest, is it more of a cautionary tale of AI slop? A technological echo chamber where a creator just talks to machines that simulate an audience that isn't there.
Yeah.
So I'll be representing the view that Captain Bob is, in fact, an avant-garde innovator, really using this vibe coding to democratize complex software engineering.
And I, naturally, will be taking the skeptical view. I'm going to argue that this project creates what he himself calls a neon wasteland of uncanny valley aesthetics, that for all the grand theories, it's really just a solipsistic loop, a man on a boat talking to a chatbot.
Okay, so let's start with the foundation of my position. To understand the pirate radio station, I think you have to look past the view count. Captain Bob defines this explicitly as a hobby project. He draws this fascinating parallel to Rod Stewart's model railways or, a grandfather's shed inventions. But here's the crucial difference. Instead of wood and glue, Bob is using vibe coding. He claims to have generated tens of thousands of lines of code using OpenAI's models. He even mentions Model 5.2 without writing a single line by hand. I mean, that is the democratization of tech in its purest form.
Okay, but let me jump in there. We aren't talking about gluing tracks together. This feels like maybe a fundamental misunderstanding of what software engineering actually is.
Well, hold on. Let me finish the thought on the philosophy before we get into the mechanics. The antisocial broadcast channel, it's a sophisticated reaction against the attention economy. Bob states very clearly that most YouTube content is designed to grab and hold your attention.
Sure.
His station is designed to do the opposite, to run in the background. Screensavers for pets, music for working. It isn't screaming for engagement, it's offering a presence. And the underlying tech, the job envy and home envy nodes, that demonstrates he's building a serious utility. This isn't just playing around, it's architectural vision.
That is a compelling argument. I see the vision. But have you considered the reality of the output? I acknowledge the effort. Tens of thousands of lines of code is an impressive volume. But for all that code, the creator himself admits the current audience is next to nobody, apart from his mom, Maggie. He projects it on her wall, I mean, that's sweet, but it completely undermines the grand claims of a global platform. He's not building a tool for the world. He's building a digital terrarium for himself.
But every platform starts with 0 users. You can't penalize a proof of concept for not being Facebook on day 1.
It's not just the lack of users, it's the simulation of them. Bob is asking ChatGPT to role-play listeners asking him questions. Because there is no live chat. He's prompting it saying, imagine I'm a listener, ask me about midnight storytelling. It's completely performative, and technically it's fragile. He describes having AI rage over the last 6 months. He talks about his frustration with UIs like HeyGen. I mean, this risks falling squarely into the category of AI slop. Just an endless stream of generated content that mimics human creativity without any of the soul. That Zenith avatar he uses, the one with the uncanny valley eye movements, it's a simulation of a broadcast, not a broadcast.
I think you're mistaking the prototype for the final product. But let's dive into the core of it. Let's talk about the methodology itself, vibe coding. We need to be specific about what this is.
Oh, I'm ready. Because I think vibe coding is just a euphemism for guessing until it compiles.
Not at all. Look, traditional no-code tools, think Webflow or Bubble. They're about dragging and dropping pre-built blocks. You're constrained by the tool's interface. Vibe coding, as Captain Bob shows, is about generating raw code, Python, JavaScript, SQL, through natural language. He uses brute force prompting to build a platform that runs 24/7. The AI handles the grunt work, which allows him, a single person on a boat, to focus on the bigger vision. He creates these job envy nodes, these home envy concepts that would, in the real world, require a team of 20 engineers. This is the future of development. The human as the conductor, the AI as the orchestra.
I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that it's an orchestra. It sounds more like a chaotic rehearsal where half the musicians are drunk. Bob himself admits to spending hours weeding out bugs. He talks about the code needing to be refactored and knocked into shape. That's not engineering, that is wrangling. And look at the stability. In one of the source clips, he tries to record a session with ChatGPT and it fails multiple times. He's saying, "Hello, are you there?" and just gets silence. He has to restart the thread. The reliance on external tools means he's at the mercy of API changes. It's a product that is, theoretically impressive, but practically very, very glitchy.
But that glitchiness is part of the honest signal he talks about. He isn't trying to hide the scenes. He explicitly says, I haven't written a single line of the code behind it. He's testing the limits of what a non-coder or a vibe coder can achieve. You call it wrangling, I call it a high-level abstraction layer. He is operating at the level of intent, not syntax. When he talks about the job envy node, he's describing a system where vector databases use RAG, retrieval augmented generation, to match people based on user time and place. That is a sophisticated concept being built by a guy lying in bed with a laptop. That is revolutionary.
Okay, I want to pause on that term, RAG. Because for our listeners, that usually means the AI looks up external data to be more accurate. But Bob is using these terms in a sort of soup of grandiosity. He talks about a $1 trillion cluster concept running on solar panels. There's a massive disconnect between the grandeur of the language, global energy arbitrage, national security, and the reality of what he's building. He's using national security terminology to describe a website that might help you find a job. It feels like the AI is hallucinating the scope of the project, and Bob is just buying right into it.
I think you're being a bit uncharitable to the theoretical framework. Innovation often sounds like hyperbole until it actually works. Let's move to that second point, the UTP theory and the antisocial philosophy. This is where the project shows real intellectual depth.
Go on. Explain how an antisocial channel is supposed to connect people.
It connects them through user time and place, or UTP. Bob argues we're moving from the era of URLs, static links, to 3D coordinates in a vector space. The Pirate Radio Station is the proof of concept for this. The goal is to have the AI monitor the vibe of a live chat and dynamically alter the broadcast in real time based on the audience's collective mood. He calls it a human AI dance. It's not automation, it's responsiveness. He envisions a global what's on guide that doesn't just list events, but understands the feeling of a place through crowdsourced data.
That's our fantastic pitch deck.
It's Minority Report meets Spotify. But let's look at the implementation today. He calls it the anti-social broadcast channel. I argue that branding is just a coping mechanism for a lack of engagement. The live chat he wants to monitor, it's a fabrication. He prompts ChatGPT. Imagine you are a listener asking about midnight storytelling. And here's the kicker. When ChatGPT asks a ropey question, Bob gets annoyed. He tells the AI, "Give me something a little bit more on point, please." He is literally directing the audience's reaction because there is no audience.
He is building the infrastructure for the audience. It's the field of dreams approach. If you build it, they will come. You can't test a crowd sensing algorithm without simulating the crowd first.
Or you build it and they stay away because it's slop. I mean, the Global What's On guide relies on crowdsourcing trillions of data points. But he admits, currently I have next to nobody watching my channel apart from my mom. The theory of energy arbitrage, the talk of replacing the global job market, it all suggests a complete disconnection from reality. This is the definition of a solipsistic signal, broadcasting into the void and having the void broadcast back at you.
I see why you'd interpret it that way, but let me frame it differently. Innovation often looks like delusion in the early stages, and the fact that he's testing these interactions with a simulated audience is just standard development practice. But this brings us to our third point, authenticity in an artificial world. You called it slop, but I think there is something profoundly human happening here.
Authenticity? In a world of avatars and generated voices? I don't see it.
Yes, exactly. Bob uses his real voice. He explicitly states this. This is my real voice. However, this is my avatar. He admits he's recording at 5 a.m. from a boat. He apologizes for his cold, the snuffling. There is a vulnerability there that just cuts through the synthetic layer. He calls himself Captain Bob, narrating this sci-fi story, but then cuts right back to the reality of being a guy who just woke up. It's performance art. It is an honest signal carried through a synthetic medium.
I find that contrast just jarring, not artistic. You have this high-concept narration, destiny isn't polite, it arrives like a glitch in the dark, and then you have him saying, I just have to excuse my snuffling. It breaks the immersion. It's just bad production value masked as vibe. But the peak of this absurdity, for me, is the Spank the Monkey track.
The diss track. I was hoping we'd get to that. I think that's brilliant meta commentary.
It is bizarre. For listeners, this is an AI-generated rap song that disses him. Captain Bob prompted the AI to roast himself, and the lyrics are devastatingly accurate. He's making copies for his mom called Maggie. How can an artist make a man so laggy? And he's best mates with ChatGPT. Bro, use your brain, it's literally free. He's using his own tool to mock his own loneliness and technical incompetence. It just highlights the absolute absurdity of the situation. He is feuding with his own creation.
Exactly. That is the art. He's self-aware. He knows it's laggy. He knows he's talking to ChatGPT. He isn't trying to trick us. He's inviting us into the man cave. The Spank the Monkey track is him laughing at himself. It's a moment of genuine humor in what is, essentially a tech demo.
But is it artistic? Or is it just uncanny? He admits the avatar is better looking and he's not comfortable recording himself. That isn't artistic vulnerability. That's hiding. And the diss track mentions him being at West Key Marina Spoons, a Witherspoons pub. It grounds everything in this mundane reality that clashes with the whole pirate radio aesthetic. It feels like a lonely man using technology to build a wall around himself, not a bridge to others. The AI mocking him isn't a duet. It's a reflection of his own insecurities, just amplified by a text-to-speech engine.
I strongly disagree. The bridge is the code. The bridge is the vibe coding. He is showing that you don't need a studio or a camera crew or even a software team. You just need a vision and the patience to prompt. This brings us back to the democratization of creativity.
But you also need a connection. It's a closed loop. He mentions the we of the collective band versus the I of the soloist. He is the soloist, but he's playing to an empty room, pretending it's full. And that's the danger here. You can vibe code a mansion, but if you don't have the community to fill it, it's just a haunted house.
Let's zoom out for the conclusion then. The pirate radio station, I believe, is a proof of concept for the future of media. Captain Bob is predicting a world where avatars engage in real time, where content is dynamically generated for the individual. He's validating the idea that AI can be a true companion in the creative process. It allows a man cave hobby to scale up to global broadcast potential. Vibe coding is a reality, and Bob is the proof.
And I remain unconvinced. While the technical assembly is notable, the project remains a solipsistic tragedy. It's a radio station broadcasting to itself, simulating a community that doesn't exist. It serves as a warning, really. Without a human connection, without that we of the collective band, AI content will always just be slop, no matter how complex the vector database is behind it. It's isolation disguised as innovation.
Well, maybe it's isolation turned into creation.
It's creation that echoes only the creator.
And perhaps that's what all art is initially. Captain Bob represents a fascinating, if somewhat lonely, frontier in the evolution of AI creativity.
A frontier where the only resident is the pioneer and his chatbot, it seems.
Well, we will leave it to the listener to decide if vibe coding is the future of development or just a sophisticated way to talk to yourself.
Indeed. Thank you for listening.